Hey folks, the last few videos I've done have prompted a response that has, for a lot of people, begun with a very cliche tagline. I've come across it at least 6 or 7 times in the comments. I don't want to start a war, I don't want to start any bad feeling, but I have to take issue with the line, quote, "You get what you pay for." If that were the case, then these channels wouldn't need to exist. If that were the case, you wouldn't have 200, 300, 400 channels on YouTube where people are combing through these budget guitars to find which ones hold up, which ones have the best value, which ones are decently made, which ones are a bargain. I have worked on now probably thousands of guitars and other instruments, and I have to say the "you get what you pay for" mantra is not true. It's often true. It's often the case. I'll give you an example. I have a guitar right here that I have not done a video of because it is a case of you get what you pay for. This is a Sunrise blue guitar, Dreadnought, and it's pretty bad. I mean, it doesn't sound too bad because I've done a setup on it, but yeah, it's pretty low end. It's probably all basswood. It struggles to stay in tune. I had to do tons of work on it just to get it to be decent. I'm going to flug it off for probably $80 or so. So yeah, sometimes when you pay little money, you do get what you pay for. You get a poor product, but that's not always the case. I paid almost the same for this Donner guitar that I did a video on last time round, and it's twice as good as the Sunrise guitar. Much more value. In fact, I'd say this competes with guitars in the 140, 160, even in some cases 180 price range. I also got these Oscar Schmidt guitars for very little more, and these are also much better quality, much better joinery, better woods. So don't let guitar companies and their retailing systems define quality for you. It's a bad way to think about things. If something is $300, it doesn't automatically mean it's better than something that's $200. These big guitar companies often are fanciful in their pricing. I've got guitars that retail around $500-600 guitars, and sometimes they play like $700 or $800 guitars, and sometimes they play like $200 guitars. I don't trust these big corporations to price their products properly. I will make the determination on whether something's value for money or it isn't. I'm not going to let the price or the retail or the map or even the Amazon or the eBay or the street price, the Craigslist price determine what I think is value for money and what isn't. I think that's silly. A lot of times guitars come out and they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars. Then the market corrects that company. They suddenly find themselves having to lower that guitar to where it should sit in the pricing market. We all know examples of this when guitars come out. I remember, lots of guitars that came out and they're really, really expensive. And then 6 months later, they're half that price because the company has finally learned it's not worth what they thought it was, and the market's not bearing out their evaluation of their product. They had to lower it and drop it into a price range where it would actually start to sell. This works both ways. I mean, you get some guitars. I've noticed lately that the Epiphone guitars, particularly their electric lines, the prices are really soaring up. The Squier stuff, every time I look at it, the prices move up. Those are becoming more valuable. And then some of the stuff that it's emulating, some of the Gibson line, some of the Fender line, is coming down. Not all of it, but some of it. So those two things are getting close together. I mean, you can get, Mexican or Chinese Strat now, Fender, only a little bit more than the Epiphone equivalents, and some people actually prefer the Epiphones. This is a case of the market actually correcting itself, and over time, attritionally, pricing becomes more reflective of what the value is. I've noticed a lot of guitar companies, they put guitars out on the market, acoustic guitars or classical guitars, and the prices are really high, and then over time they come down because they over-evaluated their guitars. Things like Antonio Hermoso, when it first came out, were overpriced. And there are lots of examples of that all over the guitar world. So when somebody says to me, you get what you pay for, no, you don't. There are times where I get absolute bargain. I set up the guitar and the guitar is worth twice, sometimes 3 times what I paid for it. And other times, not very often, because I have a keen eye and I know what I'm doing. Every once in a while you buy one that isn't worth what you paid for it, and you try out a brand and you go, oh, that wasn't really worth investing that much money in. Yeah, that can happen, but it's not a law. It's not like a property of physics, is it? So that line's a throwaway line. I think it's a bit of a cop-out, and people seem to throw that line at everything as a catch-all philosophical statement. I just don't think it's true. Otherwise, places like eBay wouldn't exist. People go on eBay to get a bargain, to get a deal, to get something that's going to end up worth more than what they paid, or at least as much as what they paid. People thrive to get bargains and to get steals on equipment. So pricing structure is fluid. It moves around a lot. There are a lot of mistakes in the way companies evaluate their products. They overestimate market value. They sometimes underestimate market value. And we, the consumers, get to be the ones that make that determination. We, the musicians and guitar players and ukulele players, are the ones that determine whether a model, a brand, a run of particular instruments is up to the price that it's laid out for, or if we need to correct that evaluation. I feel strongly about this. That's why I'm taking 8 minutes or so to talk about it. But every time I talk about a guitar that was disappointing, the shipping issues lately, or I talk about a guitar that's needed a lot of setup, invariably somebody comes on into the comments and says, "Oh, you get what you pay for. It's your fault." It just seems to be a bit of a cop-out for me. I don't actually believe it. I think a lot of times you do, but it's not set in stone. It doesn't always happen that way. And I hope I've given you some examples of why I bristle at that comment and have to take you on when you say it. All right, folks, back to guitars next time. See ya.